Good evening and happy Mother's Day to all of you mothers and all of you special ladies that have been mothers to someone today. I am here today simply because my pastor asked me to say something on Mother's Day to all of you, and because he is not only my pastor but my son, and I love him and I respect him, and Sister Lacey, our sweet, sweet daughter-in-law. We are here today. And so we hope that this short devotion will bless somebody. And I just sort of want to start off with a little story. For when he asked me to say something, my mind went back to a Memorial weekend in 2016. We were staying in a condo up on Lake Travis, and it was in the hill country where the deer roam freely. And at this particular place, there were so many deer that they actually sold corn at the office so you could feed the deer that come up to your condo. And so we bought a big bag and we would spread the corn out. And after they got a little used to us, they would actually come up and eat the corn out of our hand. It was just a beautiful, relaxing area, a wonderful place for a little short vacation. And so I remember every night and every morning that would become our ritual. We would feed the deer. And there would just be sometimes 50, 60, 75 deer that would come up to us. And I remember one particular morning waking up, and it was a terrible storm outside. The sun was hidden behind the clouds, and so it was very dark. The wind was blowing, and the rain was coming down so heavy. And my first thought was, oh my, we won't get to feed the deer this morning. And my next thought was, I wonder how the deer are faring. I worried about the little things being out there in the open air and not being protected under a covering. But as I looked out the patio door that day at the rain, I noticed something move in the distance, and under a tree, I recognized that it was a doe. And I thought, I wonder why she's staying there all alone. And in a minute, I looked, and way down below, a little nose pushed its way up through the brush. And I realized a baby fawn was there at her feet. And she began licking that little baby fawn and nudging that little baby fawn. And that little baby fawn would try to get up on its little wiggly legs, and it would have such a difficult time. And she would nudge it again and nudge it again. And all of a sudden, she sort of turned from that little baby deer and went off a little ways from it. And I could not believe my eyes. A second baby deer was being born in the middle of that storm. And as soon as that baby was born, the scene repeated itself. She began licking that little baby deer all over to get its circulation going. And then she began nudging it to try to get it to get up. And it didn't really want to get up at first. It just sort of wanted to lay there. But she knew she needed to get that baby up. And so she nudged, and those little wobbly legs finally helped that little baby deer up. She began to give nourishment to both of those little deer, and before the morning was over, they were able to walk and follow her into the woods as she went away to begin their life. That morning, I remember thinking, everybody needs a mother. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. Everybody needs a mother. God thought that mothers were so important that when he chose to robe himself in flesh and come down to this earth, he chose a young teenage girl named Mary to be the mother of that body that he robed himself in. And we know that Mary was specially chosen of God for that very task. Mark Lowry wrote a song that's become very famous and familiar to probably most all of us that are listening today. It was entitled, Mary, Did You Know? Some of the words of that song is, Mary, did you know that your baby boy would someday walk on water? Mary, did you know that your baby boy would save our sons and daughters? Did you know that your baby boy has come to make you new? And this child that you've delivered will soon deliver you. The song goes on to talk about giving sight to the blind, calming storms, and walking where angels walk. And then the powerful line at the end of the song, when you've kissed your little baby, you kiss the face of God. God could have chosen any way to come to this earth, but he chose to come as a human, and he realized a mother would be a vital part of his earthly life, and so he chose Mary. Now, it wasn't all angels' visits or kings bringing gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh, but it was tears, it was disappointments, it was unbearable pain as she watched him die as a criminal would die. I've often wondered what she went through in her mind. She watched him suffer and die that day. She was a Jew, and like so many others, she thought the Messiah was going to come and deliver them by becoming a king on the throne. And yet her son Jesus, who the angels had foretold, that had amazed the rulers in the synagogue with his wisdom, that crowds had followed to see him heal and share great words of wisdom. Here was her son that had raised the dead, dying on the cross. Do you think she questioned herself? I feel sure she did. Should she have given him different advice? Should she have insisted on him following a different life plan? Did she fail as a mother? We know Mary didn't fail, but she was in the divine will of God, chosen to be the mother of God. God robed in flesh, and she was exactly what Jesus needed because she was handpicked for the job. It looked like her job was over as he died on the cross. But in John 19:26 through 27, we find Jesus on the cross looking at his best friend and disciple and looking at his mother and saying to his mother, "See, here is your son." And to his friend, he said, "See, here is your mom." He wanted his mom to know everybody needs a mother. And so he entrusted her to mother his close friend and disciple. And 3 verses later, it's recorded that he said, "It is finished." Everybody needs a mother, whether it is by blood or it is simply by flood of love. Mothers play such a significant role in our lives. If our physical mother is not available either because of death, desertion, poor choices, or circumstances beyond all of our control, God loves to see to it that you have someone in your life that will mother you. Moses needed a mother. When baby boys were being killed by the wicked king, he needed a mother. So God arranged for a pretty princess to fall in love with this baby boy floating in a basket in the Nile River. And she paid his birth mother to nourish and care for him in his formative years. God knew he needed a mother. God saw that Isaac was going to need a mother to raise him to be a leader of Israel. So he performed a miracle in a body of an elderly lady, and she miraculously gave birth to him in her old age. God chose Sarah to be the mother of one of the greatest patriarchs of all time because he needed a mother. Naomi, she felt bitter, useless, and depressed after her husband's and her sons died at an early age. But God thought, "Naomi, I need you to become a mother to your daughter-in-law Ruth. I need you to train her and love her and bring her back to your country so she can marry Boaz, for I plan to bring the Messiah into the world through that bloodline." Some of you may have always longed to be a mother, and yet physically you were never privileged to give birth. Some of you may be a mother that feels like you failed miserably at motherhood. Others may feel like you missed out on having a mother that fits the verses on the Hallmark card poems on the shelf. But in God's family, we can all have a mother. And we can all mother someone who needs our love and our care. I first met a precious baby boy 6 months old with dark hair and big brown eyes who was in the foster care system. His physical mom had battled with drugs, and the government concluded that she was not in a position to take care of his needs. I often took this baby in my arms, and he would nuzzle against my neck as I loved on him, and he responded to my love. I would think often how much that mother was missing. When it became evident that the situation would not change, I started praying that there would be a way that he could be adopted by a loving couple that longed for a child. I knew my nephew and his wife would be the perfect parents for this child. And so after much prayer, many court hearings, and years, I was in the courtroom when the judge proclaimed Justin David Miller to be officially adopted. The celebration of this event was greater than it would have ever been if he had simply been born in a hospital room. As I watched him play drums at 7 years of age for a church service the other day, I had to thank God that He arranged for him to have a mother that would love him, nurture him, and nudge him to walk in the service of the Lord. I've loved mothering many young people in our church that's come in contact with our family or our church family. And so many of you hold a special place in my heart, and many of you know who you are. There is just someone waiting on each of us to nurture and to love, to nudge them to get up and walk and to become mature and to make it in the kingdom of God. I want to encourage you to find someone that needs a mother and to become a mother to them. I was so blessed to have a wonderful mother. And I want to give honor to my mother, Sybil Bridges, who was a godly and a loving mother to me. But I want to also honor all the other mothers that nudged me and encouraged me and prayed for me along the way that I could make it. Some of those are you that are listening to my voice. Some have already gone on to their reward. And I could name names today because you're so very, very real and in my mind today. But for fear that I would miss one, you know who you are. You have been a blessing to me for 46 years here at Abundant Life Sanctuary. I'm so honored to have a wonderful son and a special daughter to make me always feel loved and special. And my greatest desire is to love and support them and love and support all of you in our sweet church family. I want to be like that mother deer standing in the rain, even if it's stormy. I want to make sure that I am a mother because everybody needs a mother. Lord, bless each of you, and I hope and pray that you've had a very happy Mother's Day. I love each of you and pray God's blessings upon you.